The Democratic Republic of Congo is once again grappling with the resurgence of the March 23 movement, a rebel group with a troubled history. Formed in 2012, M23 comprises former members of the National Congress for the Defense of the People, a Tutsi-dominated rebel group that had been integrated into the Congolese army. The group derives its name from the date of a peace agreement signed on March 23, 2009, which the former CNDP rebels accused the government of violating. After a period of relative calm, M23 resurfaced in late 2021, launching attacks in North Kivu province. The group's rapid advance and capture of key towns have raised alarms both domestically and internationally. The resurgence of M23 has reignited long-standing tensions in the region, exacerbating an already dire humanitarian crisis and threatening the fragile stability of eastern DRC. The return of M23 has been met with widespread condemnation, with many accusing neighboring Rwanda of supporting the rebel group. Rwanda has consistently denied these allegations, but evidence suggests otherwise. The international community has called for a de-escalation of violence and urged all parties to engage in dialogue to find a peaceful resolution to the conflict. The resurgence of M23 is a stark reminder of the DRC's ongoing struggle for peace and stability. Years of conflict have left the country deeply divided, with various armed groups vying for control of its vast mineral wealth. The international community must work together to address the root causes of the conflict and support the DRC's efforts to achieve lasting peace. M23's recent offensive has seen the group seize control of several strategically important cities in eastern DRC. Among the most significant are Goma and Bukavu, both provincial capitals and vital economic hubs. Goma, captured by M23 in January 2025, serves as a crucial trading center near lucrative mines. Its proximity to the Rwandan border makes it a strategic prize for the rebels. Bukavu, another important city in South Kivu province, fell to M23 in February 2025. The capture of these cities grants the rebel group control over areas inhabited by over 5 million people. This control not only strengthens their position militarily, but also gives them leverage in any future negotiations. Beyond their economic and strategic value, these cities hold immense symbolic importance. Their capture by M23 serves as a stark reminder of the Congolese government's inability to protect its citizens and maintain territorial integrity. The fall of Goma and Bukavu has further fueled public anger and eroded trust in the government's ability to address the ongoing crisis. The capture of these cities represents a significant escalation of the conflict and poses a direct challenge to the authority of the Congolese state. The international community must respond decisively to prevent further territorial gains by M23 and ensure the protection of civilians caught in the crossfire. The conflict in eastern DRC has triggered a humanitarian catastrophe of immense proportions. Years of fighting have resulted in the displacement of over 7 million people, forcing them to flee their homes in search of safety. The recent upsurge in violence has only exacerbated this crisis, with thousands more displaced as M23 advances. The humanitarian situation is dire, with many displaced people lacking access to basic necessities such as food, water, shelter, and healthcare. Overcrowded displacement camps have become breeding grounds for disease, further compounding the suffering. Children are particularly vulnerable, facing risks of malnutrition, disease, and recruitment into armed groups. The international community has been providing humanitarian assistance, but the needs far outweigh the available resources. The ongoing conflict and insecurity hinder aid delivery, making it difficult to reach those most in need. The withdrawal of South African peacekeepers in April 2025 following the deaths of 14 soldiers has further diminished the capacity to protect civilians and facilitate aid distribution. The humanitarian crisis in eastern DRC demands urgent attention. The international community must scale up its support to provide life-saving assistance to those affected by the conflict. Equally important is the need to address the root causes of the crisis, including the proliferation of armed groups and the illicit exploitation of natural resources. In an attempt to legitimize their presence and project an image of control, M23 has made efforts to establish governance structures in the areas under their control. This includes the imposition of taxes on residents, businesses, and mining activities. However, these attempts at governance are largely seen as a facade, aimed at generating revenue and consolidating power, rather than providing genuine services to the population. Despite controlling lucrative mines and imposing taxes, M23 faces significant financial challenges. The group's alleged links to Rwanda have led to international pressure and sanctions, limiting their access to financial resources. Moreover, their brutal tactics and human rights abuses have alienated local populations, hindering their ability to establish effective control. M23's governance efforts are further hampered by internal divisions and a lack of a clear political vision. The group's primary objective appears to be securing power and enriching its leaders, rather than addressing the underlying grievances that have fueled the conflict. This lack of a coherent political agenda makes it difficult for M23 to gain popular support or engage in meaningful dialogue. The international community must remain vigilant in challenging M23's attempts to portray itself as a legitimate governing force. Efforts should focus on supporting the Congolese government in restoring its authority and providing essential services to the population. Section 5. Navigating a political minefield. Tshisekedi's strategies for stability. Faced with a resurgent M23 and a deteriorating security situation, President Felix Tshisekedi has been engaged in a delicate balancing act, employing a range of political maneuvers to try and stabilize the country. One of his key strategies has been the formation of a unity government, aimed at consolidating political support and presenting a united front against the rebellion. Tshisekedi has also taken aim at his predecessor, former President Joseph Kabila, accusing him of complicity in the resurgence of M23. He has sought to lift Kabila's immunity from prosecution, alleging that Kabila played a role in arming and supporting the rebel group during his time in office. Kabila vehemently denies these accusations, dismissing them as politically motivated. While the move against Kabila could potentially rally support from those who view the former president as responsible for the country's woes, it also carries risks. Kabila still commands considerable support in certain parts of the country, and his prosecution could further inflame political tensions. Tshisekedi's political maneuvers are a high-stakes gamble. His success in stabilizing the country will depend on his ability to navigate the complex political landscape, build consensus among rival factions, and secure the support of the international community. Section 6. The Quest for Peace, International Mediation, and Fragile Ceasefires. Recognizing the regional and international implications of the conflict, several actors have stepped in to mediate between the warring parties. The United States and Qatar have played prominent roles facilitating peace talks between the DRC government and M23. These talks have yielded some positive results, including a ceasefire agreement announced in Qatar on April 24, 2025. However, the path to peace remains fraught with obstacles. Past negotiations have proven fragile, with M23 often reneging on agreements and accusing the international community of bias. The group's deep mistrust of the Congolese government, coupled with its alleged ties to Rwanda, makes it difficult to ensure its commitment to a lasting peace agreement. Despite the challenges, the international community must persevere in its efforts to find a peaceful resolution to the conflict. This includes maintaining pressure on all parties to adhere to ceasefire agreements, providing support for the demobilization and reintegration of former combatants, and addressing the root causes of the conflict, such as poverty, inequality, and the illicit exploitation of natural resources. The quest for peace in eastern DRC is a long and arduous process. It requires sustained commitment from all stakeholders, both domestic and international, and a willingness to address the underlying political, economic, and social grievances that have fueled decades of conflict. Section 7. Rwanda's shadow allegations, denials, and regional implications. Looming large over the conflict in eastern DRC is the shadow of neighboring Rwanda. Accusations of Rwandan support for M23 have been persistent, with the DRC government, the United Nations, the United States, and France all pointing to evidence of Rwandan involvement. These accusations stem from historical ties between Rwanda and the M23 leadership, as well as reports of Rwandan military activity in eastern DRC. Rwanda has consistently denied these allegations, maintaining that it is not a party to the conflict and seeks only to protect its own borders from cross-border attacks. However, the weight of evidence, coupled with Rwanda's history of intervention in the DRC, has made it difficult for the international community to accept these denials at face value. The alleged Rwandan support for M23 has strained relations between the two countries and fueled regional instability. The DRC has accused Rwanda of using the rebel group to advance its own economic and strategic interests, particularly in relation to the DRC's vast mineral wealth. The international community has called on Rwanda to cease any support for M23 and respect the DRC's sovereignty. The situation in eastern DRC highlights the interconnectedness of regional security in the Great Lakes region. Resolving the conflict requires addressing not only the internal dynamics within the DRC, but also the complex web of relationships and rivalries between neighboring states. Section 8. Uganda's complex role: security partner or self-serving actor. Adding another layer of complexity to the conflict is the role of Uganda. While Uganda officially positions itself as a security partner to the DRC, its actions present a more nuanced and often contradictory picture. Uganda has a security agreement with the DRC and has deployed troops to combat armed groups in the region. However, it also maintains ties with M23 and has been accused of using its own proxies in eastern DRC. Uganda's involvement in eastern DRC is driven by a mix of security and economic interests. The country views the presence of armed groups in the region as a threat to its own stability, particularly the Allied Democratic Forces, a Ugandan rebel group based in eastern DRC. At the same time, Uganda has economic interests in the region, including smuggling routes for gold and timber. This dual role has led to accusations that Uganda is playing a double game, cooperating with the DRC on security matters while simultaneously supporting armed groups to advance its own interests. The Ugandan government denies these accusations, but its actions have sown mistrust and complicated efforts to stabilize the region. The international community must engage with Uganda to ensure its actions are aligned with efforts to achieve peace and stability in eastern DRC. This includes pressing Uganda to sever any ties with armed groups, promote transparency in its military operations, and prioritize regional cooperation over narrow self-interest. Section 9. A legacy of conflict: the DRC's uncertain future. The resurgence of M23 is the latest chapter in the DRC's long and tragic history of conflict. Decades of violence have left the country deeply scarred, with millions dead, displaced, and traumatized. The ongoing crisis in eastern DRC is a stark reminder of the challenges the country faces in its quest for peace, stability, and development. Despite the daunting challenges, there is hope for a better future. The Congolese people have shown remarkable resilience in the face of adversity, and there is a growing desire for peace and stability. The international community has a responsibility to support the DRC in its efforts to break the cycle of conflict and build a more prosperous and equitable society. Achieving lasting peace in the DRC requires a multifaceted approach that addresses the root causes of the conflict. This includes strengthening governance and the rule of law, promoting economic development and opportunity, addressing historical grievances and promoting reconciliation, and ending impunity for human rights abuses. The road ahead for the DRC is long and uncertain, but with the support of the international community and the determination of the Congolese people, there is hope that the country can overcome its troubled past and build a brighter future for generations to come.